The concierge's face went pale when she looked from her computer screen to the badge clipped to my purse. I was standing in the lobby of the Maison Royale in New Orleans, sweat still drying on my skin from the August humidity outside, my carry-on bag at my feet and my phone showing a confirmation email for a reservation that apparently didn't exist anymore. Behind me, the lobby hummed with guests checking in for what I'd only just learned was the National Hotel Owners Association conference. Crystal chandeliers threw soft light across marble floors. A pianist played something jazzy near the bar. Everything looked elegant and expensive and exactly like the kind of place I'd dreamed about when I was a kid and mobile, cleaning other people's hotel rooms with my mama. "Mrs. Chen," the concierge said carefully, her name tag reading, "Danielle. I'm so sorry, but it appears your reservation was canceled this morning at 9:47 a.m. Canceled by who?" She clicked something, her eyes scanning the screen. "By Marcus Chen, the credit card holder on the reservation. Marcus, my husband, who'd left for New Orleans 2 days ago for this same conference while I stayed behind in Houston to finish a project at the boutique hotel I managed. Who was supposed to meet me here tonight for a romantic weekend, our first real trip together in 6 months since his promotion to regional director at the hotel chain where we both worked. Who'd texted me this afternoon, 'Can't wait to see you, baby. Room is perfect.' There must be a mistake," I said. "Can you call him? He's a guest here. Marcus Chen, he checked in on Wednesday." Danielle's fingers moved across her keyboard. "I see his reservation. He's in room 847. Would you like me to ring him?" "Yes, please." She picked up the phone, dialed. I watched her expression shift from professional to confused to something like embarrassment. She hung up. No answer. But Mrs. Chen, she glanced at my badge again, and I realized she was staring at the small logo etched into the leather. The logo for Encore Hospitality Group, the parent company that owned 43 boutique hotels across the South, including the Maison Royale, including the property I managed in Houston. "You're with Encore?" "I'm the general manager of the Encore Houston Heights." Her eyes widened slightly. "I see. And Mr. Chen is regional director of operations for Encore. He oversees 6 properties, including this one." Something changed in her face. Recognition, maybe, or concern. She excused herself, disappeared through a door marked Management, and returned 90 seconds later with a tall black man in an immaculate suit, his silver hair cut close, his expression warm but assessing. "Ms. Porter?" he said, using my maiden name, the one on my badge, the one I'd kept professionally even after marrying Marcus 2 years ago. "I'm Gerald Thomas, managing director here at the Maison Royale. I understand there's been an issue with your reservation? It was canceled, without my knowledge." "I see. And you're traveling to join your husband who's here for the NHOA conference?" "That was the plan." He nodded slowly, and I saw him calculating something behind his professional smile. "Ms. Porter, would you mind stepping into my office for a moment? I think we should discuss this privately." I followed him through the management door, down a carpeted hallway lined with black and white photographs of old New Orleans, into a corner office with windows overlooking Royal Street. He closed the door, gestured to a chair, sat behind his desk. "I'm going to be frank with you," he said, "because you're Encore leadership and because I think you deserve to know. Your husband requested the cancellation of your reservation this morning. He also specifically requested that we not contact him if you arrived, and that we accommodate you in a different room if you insisted on staying." The words hit like cold water. "A different room." "Yes, ma'am. He doesn't want to share a room with me." That's what his instructions indicated. I sat very still, my hands folded in my lap, my mind trying to catch up with what I was hearing. Marcus had canceled my reservation, had told the hotel not to call him, had made arrangements to keep me separate, and he'd done it this morning, hours before my flight, while texting me sweet messages about how excited he was to see me. My name is Simone Porter Chen, though I don't know how much longer I'll keep that second name. I'm 32 years old. I grew up in Mobile, Alabama, the daughter of a woman who cleaned hotels for 20 years before her back gave out. I put myself through the University of South Alabama, working front desk shifts, night audit, housekeeping, anything to learn the industry and pay for my hospitality management degree. I climbed every rung of the ladder from front desk agent to assistant manager to general manager, and I did it in heels and with a smile even when men twice my age told me I was too young, too black, too female to run a property. And I married a man who'd just publicly humiliated me at his own company's flagship hotel. If you're listening to this and something in your gut is telling you that the person you love is hiding something, don't ignore it like I did. because what happened next changed everything. I thought I knew about my marriage and my career, so hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this story gets complicated fast. Mr. Thomas, I said carefully, did my husband give a reason for the cancellation? No, ma'am. Just said there'd been a change of plans and to process the cancellation with no penalty. And did he mention he was married to me when he checked in? A pause. I'd have to review the check-in notes. Please do. He turned to his computer, clicked through screens. I watched his jaw tighten. No mention of a spouse. He checked in alone, requested a king room, declined our couple's amenities package. What about the room itself? Is there any indication that he's sharing it? Another pause. Miss Porter, I'm not sure. Please, I need to know. He looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something like sympathy in his eyes. Housekeeping reported 2 people in the room this morning. They declined service, but there were 2 sets of toiletries in use, 2 bathrobes, 2 wine glasses. The floor tilted. I gripped the armrests of my chair. He's here with someone. I can't confirm, but you just did. 2 people, and it's not me. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Who is she? Miss Porter. I'm not asking you to tell me her name. I'm asking you to confirm what I already know. My husband is here, at this hotel, at this conference, with another woman. And when he found out I was coming, he canceled my reservation so I wouldn't discover it. Gerald Thomas said nothing, which was answer enough. I stood up, paced to the window. Royal Street stretched below, tourists wandering with hurricane drinks, a brass band setting up on the corner, the city alive with its particular kind of chaos. I'd always loved New Orleans, the food, the music, the way it felt like nowhere else in the world. Marcus and I had talked about moving here someday, opening our own boutique property, building something together. Another dream that was apparently built on lies. What would you like me to do? Gerald asked quietly. I turned to face him. I'd like you to honor my original reservation. Different room, obviously, but I'm staying. Of course. I'll put you in one of our luxury suites. Complimentary, given the circumstances. I don't need complimentary. Ms. Porter. He stood, walked around his desk, met my eyes directly. You're a colleague. You're Encore family. And what's happening to you right now is unacceptable. Let me do this. Please. I nodded, not trusting my voice. 10 minutes later, I was in a suite on the 10th floor, the Creole suite, all exposed brick and antique furniture and a balcony overlooking the quarter. It was twice the size of the room Marcus had booked, 3 times as nice. The kind of room reserved for VIPs and honeymoon couples and people who weren't getting their marriage destroyed in real time. I sat on the king bed and stared at my phone. Marcus's last text smiled up at me. Can't wait to see you, baby. Room is perfect. Sent at 2:17 p.m. 5 hours after he'd canceled my reservation, probably while he was in bed with whoever she was. I could call him, confront him, scream until my voice gave out, or I could do something smarter. I pulled up the conference schedule on my phone. The NHOA conference was a 4-day event, Thursday through Sunday, with sessions, networking events, and tonight's opening reception in the hotel ballroom. Marcus would be there, and so would I. I unpacked my bag, hung up the dress I'd brought for tonight, a fitted navy sheath that Marcus loved, that I'd chosen specifically because he'd once said it made me look like I owned the room. Now I looked at it and felt sick. I'd dressed for him, planned for him, flown here for him, and he'd tried to keep me away. I texted my best friend Renee, SOS, call me. She called immediately. What's wrong? I told her everything, the canceled reservation, the 2 people in Marcus's room, Gerald Thomas's careful admissions. My voice stayed steady until the end, when I said, I think he's cheating on me. And then it cracked. That son of a... Renee's voice was pure fury. Where are you now? The hotel. They upgraded me to a suite. Good. Now listen to me. Do not call him. Do not text him. Do not give him any warning. You go to that reception tonight. You walk in looking like the queen you are, and you watch him. You gather evidence. You figure out who she is, and then you burn his life to the ground. Renee, I'm serious, Simone. You don't show mercy to a man who humiliates you like this. You show him what he's lost. After we hung up, I sat on the balcony and watched the city move below me. Watched the sun sink lower, painting the buildings gold. Watched my marriage crumble in my mind, replaying every moment of the last 6 months, looking for clues I'd missed. Marcus had been distant lately, working late, taking calls in the other room, being vague about his schedule. I'd attributed it to stress. His promotion had come with more travel, more responsibility, more pressure. I'd been supportive, understanding, the good wife who didn't complain when he missed dinners or forgot anniversaries or stopped touching me like he used to. I'd been a fool. At 6:30, I started getting ready. Showered, did my makeup carefully, put on the navy dress and my best heels. Straightened my locks and added the gold hoops Marcus had bought me for our first anniversary. Looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Polished, professional, completely hollow inside. The reception started at 7. I arrived at 7:15, fashionably late, and walked into the ballroom with my head high and my conference badge displayed prominently. The badge that said, Simone Porter, General Manager, Encore Houston Heights. The badge that gave me every right to be here. The room was packed. Hotel owners, managers, executives, vendors, everyone dressed up, holding champagne flutes, networking and laughing and doing the social dance that came with these events. I grabbed a drink from the bar and scanned the crowd, looking for Marcus. I found him near the windows, talking to a group of men I recognized as other Encore executives. He was wearing his charcoal suit, the one I'd helped him pick out, and he looked relaxed and confident, and completely unbothered by the fact that he'd just tried to sabotage his wife's travel plans. Then I saw her. She was standing next to him, close enough that their arms almost touched. Tall, light-skinned, natural hair in an elaborate updo, wearing a red dress that was professional but just revealing enough to suggest intention. Pretty. Young. Younger than me. Probably mid-20s. And looking at Marcus like he was the only man in the room. I watched him lean down to whisper something to her. Watched her laugh, her hand touching his arm in a gesture that was way too familiar to be casual. Watched him smile at her the way he used to smile at me, back when we were new and exciting and still pretending we'd never hurt each other. My chest tightened. I drained my champagne, grabbed another glass. Then I walked across the ballroom straight toward them. Marcus saw me when I was 10 feet away. I watched his face cycle through confusion, shock, and something close to panic. He stepped away from the woman, tried to arrange his expression into something neutral, but it was too late. I'd seen everything I needed to see. Simone. His voice was too loud, too bright. Hey, baby, what are you doing here? Attending the conference, same as you. I smiled at the woman in red. Hi, I don't think we've met. I'm Simone, Marcus's wife. The woman's face went pale. She looked from me to Marcus, and I saw her calculating, realizing, understanding that whatever he'd told her about me was apparently a lie. This is Jasmine, Marcus said quickly. She's the new assistant manager at our Baton Rouge property. We were just discussing some operational issues. Operational issues. I repeated it slowly, let it hang in the air. At a cocktail reception, while standing very close together and whispering. Simone, I tried to check in today. Did you know that? Of course you did. You canceled my reservation. His jaw tightened. Around us, people were starting to notice the tension, to slow their conversations and glance our way. Can we talk about this privately? Why? We're all colleagues here, all Encore family. I turned to Jasmine. How long have you been working for Encore? She looked trapped. 3 months. 3 months. And you already have such a close working relationship with my husband. That's impressive. Ms. Porter, she started, and I noticed she didn't say Mrs. Chen. It's fine. I cut her off. Really. I'm sure whatever this is, it's completely professional. Just like I'm sure there's a completely professional explanation for why Marcus had you in his hotel room this morning. Jasmine's mouth fell open. Marcus looked like I'd slapped him. How did you... He stopped, regrouped. You're making a scene. Am I? I'm just having a conversation at a networking event. Isn't that what we're all here for? To network? Simone. His voice dropped to a hiss. Stop. Or what? You'll cancel another reservation? Tell another lie? I stepped closer to him, close enough to smell his cologne, to see the guilt flickering in his eyes. I've been a good wife to you, Marcus. I supported your career. I moved cities for you. I made excuses when you stopped coming home. And this is how you repay me? By bringing your mistress to a company conference? She's not my mistress. Then what is she? Silence. Jasmine was crying now, quietly, her mascara starting to run. The executives who'd been standing with Marcus had melted away, embarrassed or uncomfortable, or just smart enough to stay out of it. Across the ballroom, I could see people watching us, phones out, recording or texting or spreading the gossip in real time. I'd made a scene after all. You know what? I said. Keep her. Keep the room. Keep whatever fantasy you've built where you get to have a wife at home and a girlfriend on the road. I'm done. I turned and walked away before he could respond, before I could cry, before I could fall apart in front of everyone. Made it to the lobby, to the elevator, to my suite. Locked the door. Sat on the floor with my back against it and finally let myself break. I don't know how long I sat there. Long enough for the sun to set completely, for the room to fill with shadows, for my phone to start buzzing with texts. From Marcus. We need to talk. From Renee. I saw the video. Are you okay? From numbers I didn't recognize. Is this the Simone from the NHOA reception? Video. Of course there was video. I'd confronted my husband's mistress at a professional conference in front of half the hotel industry. It was probably already on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. My humiliation immortalized in HD. I pulled myself up, turned on the lights, looked at my phone. The video is everywhere. Someone had posted it with the caption, "Hotel exec's wife crashes conference, confronts husband's mistress." It had been viewed 40,000 times in 2 hours. The comments were exactly what you'd expect. Some supportive, some cruel, some just fascinated by the drama. I was a meme. Again. Different situation, same result. My private pain turned into public entertainment. There was a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole. Gerald Thomas stood in the hallway holding a bottle of wine and looking apologetic. I opened the door. "I saw what happened," he said. "I'm sorry. For all of it. I brought reinforcements." He held up the wine. A Bordeaux. Expensive. "And I wanted you to know that you're not alone. Management has your back. All of us who saw what he did, we're on your side. That's not protocol." My voice came out hoarse. "You can't take sides between employees. You're right. It's not protocol." He met my eyes. "But it's the right thing to do. May I come in?" I let him in. We sat on the balcony and drank wine and talked about everything except Marcus. Gerald told me about his own divorce 15 years ago, about rebuilding his career after his ex-wife tried to sabotage it, about learning to trust himself again. He told me that the hotel industry was small, but it was also fiercely loyal, and that people would remember how Marcus treated me more than they'd remember the scene I'd made. "You stood up for yourself," he said, "in a room full of people who've probably wanted to do the same thing at some point. That takes courage." It felt like stupidity. Sometimes courage and stupidity look the same. He smiled. "But you're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're talented, you're smart, you're a damn good GM. This doesn't define you." After he left, I felt marginally more human. I ordered room service, gumbo, beignets, more wine, and ate on the balcony while the quarter pulsed with music below. Thought about what came next. Divorce, obviously, but also my career. Marcus and I worked for the same company. We'd built our reputations together. Separating professionally would be as complicated as separating legally, unless I left Encore entirely. The thought came unbidden, but it felt right. I couldn't keep working at a company where Marcus had power over my career, where every promotion would be questioned, where I'd always be known as his wife first and my own person second. I needed a fresh start, a new city, a new property, a new life. My phone buzzed. Marcus calling for the 5th time. I answered. "What?" "Simone, please, let me explain." "There's nothing to explain. I saw you with her. I saw how you looked at her. I know you tried to keep me away. It's not what you think. Then what is it, Marcus? Tell me. Make it make sense." Silence. Then, "I didn't plan for this to happen. Jasmine and I, we just connected. It started as mentorship. I was helping her learn the business, and then it became something else. I tried to stop it. I did. But I couldn't." "How long?" 2 months, maybe 3. 3 months, while I was managing his property back home, while I was being the supportive wife, while I was making excuses for his absence. 3 months of lies. "And you brought her here," I said, "to a conference, where everyone in the industry would see you together. I thought I could keep it separate. I thought," he sighed, "I thought you wouldn't come. You were supposed to be too busy with that renovation project. So you canceled my reservation as insurance." I panicked. I knew if you showed up and saw us together, you'd know, and I wasn't ready for you to know. But when would you have been ready? Next month? Next year? Never? I don't know. I'm confused, Simone. I love you. I do. But Jasmine, she makes me feel alive in a way I haven't felt in years. There it was. The truth that cut deeper than any lie. I wasn't enough. Hadn't been enough. Had stopped being enough somewhere along the way and hadn't even noticed. I want a divorce, I said. Don't say that. I want a divorce. I'll file when I get back to Houston. Don't fight me. Don't make this harder than it already is. Simone? I hung up, blocked his number, sat in the silence, and felt oddly calm. The decision was made. The marriage was over. All that was left was logistics. Saturday morning, I woke up to 73 missed calls and 200 unread texts. The video of my confrontation with Marcus had gone properly viral. 3 million views, picked up by gossip blogs and news sites, dissected on podcasts and morning shows. I was trending. Hotel wife drama. Conference drama exposed. People I'd gone to college with were texting me. My mother was calling from mobile. The entire world, or at least the entire hospitality industry, knew my business. I turned my phone off, got dressed, went downstairs to the conference because I'd be damned if I'd hide. The Saturday sessions were packed. I sat in the back of workshops on revenue management, customer experience, digital transformation, took notes, asked questions, acted like nothing had happened, like I wasn't the woman whose marriage had imploded on camera, like I was just another hotel professional here to learn and network. People stared, whispered. A few came up to me during breaks, mostly women, mostly supportive. One older black woman, a hotel owner from Memphis, grabbed my hand and said, "Baby, you did what most of us only dream of doing. You stood up. Don't let anyone make you feel small for that." I saw Marcus across the ballroom during lunch. He was alone, looking exhausted, his phone pressed to his ear. Jasmine was nowhere in sight. Smart girl, probably hiding in her room. He didn't approach me. I didn't approach him. We orbited each other like planets on separate paths, once connected, now drifting apart. That evening, Gerald Thomas found me at the hotel bar. "How are you holding up?" "I'm standing." That counts for something. It counts for everything. He signaled the bartender, ordered us both drinks. "I have something to tell you. Off the record." "Okay." "Corporate called me this morning. They're aware of the situation. They've launched an internal investigation into Marcus's relationship with Jasmine, specifically whether it constitutes a violation of our fraternization policy." My stomach dropped. "I didn't ask for that." "You didn't have to. The video made it public. Corporate has to respond. And between you and me, they're not happy. Marcus is her direct supervisor. That's a clear power imbalance. If he pursued a relationship with her, or if he used his position to pressure her, that's grounds for termination. I don't want him to lose his job." "Why not?" "He tried to destroy your reputation. He humiliated you publicly. He violated company policy. Why are you protecting him?" I didn't have a good answer. Instinct, maybe. The residual loyalty of 2 years of marriage. The knowledge that destroying his career would make me look vindictive, would feed the narrative that I was the scorned wife seeking revenge. "What happens to me?" I asked instead. "If he's terminated, if this becomes a bigger scandal, what happens to my career?" "That's the other thing I wanted to talk to you about." Gerald leaned forward. "I have a proposition. The Maison Royale is expanding. We're opening a second property in Charleston next year. A historic renovation, high-end boutique, exactly the kind of project that needs someone with your expertise. We're looking for a general manager, someone who can handle the pressure, navigate the complex restoration requirements, build a team from scratch. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you an opportunity, a chance to leave Encore, leave Houston, leave all of this behind and start fresh. Better title, better salary, full creative control. Interested?" I stared at him. Charleston. A new property. A blank slate. Everything I'd wanted but couldn't see through the fog of my failing marriage. "I need to think about it." "Take your time. The position isn't open until January." "But Simone," he waited until I met his eyes. "You're too talented to let this break you. Don't let Marcus Chen be the reason you stop building your career. You're better than that. This industry needs people like you." That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay in my luxury suite and thought about choices, consequences, futures. Thought about Charleston, the architecture, the beaches, the distance from everything I'd known. Thought about starting over at 32, rebuilding a life from scratch, being single again after 2 years of partnership. Thought about whether I was brave enough to do it. Sunday morning, the final day of the conference, I attended the closing breakfast. Sat at a table with other GMs, made small talk about occupancy rates and staffing challenges. Tried not to notice Marcus across the room, eating alone, his phone dark on the table beside him. The keynote speaker was a legendary hotelier, A woman who'd built her own chain from nothing, who'd survived 2 recessions and a dozen personal crises. She spoke about resilience, about failure, about the difference between falling down and staying down. The hotel industry is unforgiving, she said. We work brutal hours, deal with impossible guests, navigate constant crises. We sacrifice personal time, family time, our own well-being for the sake of hospitality. And sometimes, often, we fail. We lose properties, we lose money, we lose relationships. But here's what I've learned. Failure is just data. It tells you what didn't work so you can figure out what will. Don't let one failure define you. Learn from it, grow from it, then build something better. I felt those words settle into my chest, felt them reshape something I'd been carrying since Friday night. My marriage failed. That was data. It told me I'd ignored red flags, sacrificed my own needs, stayed too long in something that wasn't working. And now I had a choice. Let that failure define me, or use it to build something better. After the keynote, I found Gerald Thomas. I want the Charleston job. He grinned. Smart decision. But I need some conditions. I want complete autonomy. I want hiring authority. I want performance-based bonuses tied to the property's success, not subjective management reviews. And I want it in writing that if this fails, it's my failure. Not because of bias, not because of my personal life, not because someone decided I'm too damaged to lead. Done. I'll have contracts drawn up by Wednesday. We shook hands. It felt like the first real decision I'd made in months. Not a reaction to Marcus, not a compromise for the sake of peace, just a choice. My choice. For my future. I checked out of the Maison Royale on Sunday afternoon, packed my bag, took one last look at the suite that had been my sanctuary and my prison, and went downstairs. Gerald met me in the lobby with a folder. Your employment agreement, initial offer. Review it, negotiate what you need, send it back when you're ready. I took the folder. Thank you. For everything. For seeing me as more than just Marcus's wife. Simone. He waited until I looked at him. You were always more. Some of us just needed to be reminded to look. The Uber to the airport took forever, crawling through quarter traffic, past Jackson Square and the river, and all the places I'd imagined exploring with Marcus. Places that were just places now, empty of meaning, free to be rediscovered someday with someone who deserved to see them with me. At the airport, I finally turned my phone back on. The messages were overwhelming. Friends, family, colleagues, strangers. I ignored most of them. Responded to Renee. I'm okay. Actually okay. Tell you everything when I land. There was one email that caught my attention. From Jasmine. Subject line, I'm sorry. I almost deleted it. Almost refused to give her the satisfaction of reading it. But something made me open it. Ms. Porter. I know you have no reason to listen to me or care what I have to say. I know I hurt you and I'm sorry. Marcus told me you were separated. He said you'd been living separate lives for over a year, that the divorce was basically done, you just hadn't filed yet. He said you'd both moved on. I should have asked more questions. I should have checked. I was stupid and selfish and I let myself believe what I wanted to believe. I found out the truth when you showed up at the reception, when you said you were his wife and I saw the shock on your face. That's when I knew he'd lied to both of us. I quit Encore this morning. I can't work for a man who lies like that. I can't be the reason a marriage ended. I'm moving back to New Orleans, back to my old job at a different property. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I wanted you to know I'm not trying to steal your life. I didn't know I was. I hope you heal from this. I hope you find someone who deserves you. Jasmine. I read it twice, felt the anger drain out of me, replaced by something sadder and more resigned. She'd been lied to, just like me. Marcus had played us both, told us different stories, kept us in separate boxes so we wouldn't compare notes. And when we collided, we'd both learned the truth. I didn't respond, didn't need to, but I believed her. And that belief, that certainty that I wasn't crazy, wasn't paranoid, wasn't manufacturing drama, that mattered more than I expected. The flight back to Houston was smooth. I sat in coach with my laptop open, reviewing the Charleston contract, making notes in the margins, imagining what the property would look like, what team I'd build, what kind of leader I'd be without Marcus's shadow hanging over me. Renee picked me up from the airport, took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug. You good? Getting there. We went to her place, ordered pizza, drank wine, and I told her everything. The canceled reservation, the confrontation, the viral video, the job offer. She listened without interrupting, her expressions cycling through fury, sympathy, pride. So you're leaving Houston? Yeah, fresh start. When? January. I have to give Encore notice, wrap up projects, find someone to take over my property. 3 months, maybe 4. And Marcus? We're done. I'll file for divorce this week. It'll be final before I leave. She nodded slowly. How do you feel? That was the question, wasn't it? How did I feel? Sad, yes. Angry, definitely. Humiliated a little, but also relieved. Like I'd been holding my breath for months, for years maybe, and I could finally exhale. I feel free, I said. Back at my apartment, not ours, since Marcus had never actually lived here full time. I found his things still scattered around. His running shoes by the door, his coffee mug in the sink, his hoodie on the chair. I gathered it all, put it in boxes, texted him. Your stuff is in the garage. Pick it up this week or I'm donating it. He responded immediately. Can we talk first? No. Simone, please. I made a mistake. I was confused. It meant nothing. It meant everything. It meant you were willing to lie to me, humiliate me, risk everything we built for 3 months with a girl you barely knew. That tells me everything I need to know about our marriage. I love you. You love what I represented. Stability, respectability, a wife who didn't ask questions. You don't love me. You probably never did. He stopped responding after that. Monday morning, I called a divorce attorney. A woman recommended by Renee, tough as nails, with a reputation for protecting her clients. We met in her office downtown, all glass and chrome, overlooking the Houston skyline, and I told her everything. Do you want to fight for anything? She asked. Assets, alimony, settlement? No, I just want it done. Fast and clean. Even though you could probably get a lot based on his infidelity, I don't want his money. I don't want anything from him except my maiden name back and legal confirmation that I'm done. She studied me. You're sure? You've been married 2 years. You're entitled. I'm entitled to my freedom. That's all I want. She nodded. Then we'll file this week. Texas has a 60-day waiting period, but with no contested issues, we should have final papers by November. November. 2 months. Then I'd officially be Simone Porter again. Just Simone, not Marcus's wife, not Marcus's ex, just myself. I went to work, walked into the Encore Houston Heights, and was immediately swarmed by my team. Everyone had seen the video. Everyone had opinions. I held a staff meeting, addressed it head-on. Yes, my marriage is ending. Yes, it happened publicly. Yes, it's embarrassing. But it doesn't change who I am as your GM. It doesn't change my commitment to this property or to all of you. What happened in New Orleans stays in New Orleans. Here we focus on our guests, our standards, our success. Questions? No questions. Just respect. The kind you earn by showing up even when you're breaking, by leading even when you'd rather hide. I worked like a demon for the next month. Threw myself into renovations, staff training, guest experiences. Anything to keep my mind off the divorce proceedings, the whispers, the way Marcus's name kept appearing in my inbox with subject lines like, "We need to coordinate," and about the house. We didn't have a house. We had separate apartments, separate bank accounts, separate lives that had briefly overlapped and were now diverging again. There was nothing to coordinate except signatures on papers. In October, corporate called. The investigation into Marcus had concluded. He was being reassigned. Lateral move, not termination, but away from regional oversight. No more direct reports. No more authority over properties. Basically a demotion dressed up as a transfer. We can't prove coercion, the HR director explained, but we can't ignore the optics. He exercised poor judgment. This is the consequence. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, no regret. Just nothing. Marcus's career wasn't my responsibility anymore. His consequences weren't my problem. I'd moved on. The Charleston contract came through in late October. I signed it sitting at my kitchen table with Renee as my witness, with a bottle of champagne waiting for after, with a future that felt uncertain but mine. To new beginnings, Renee said, pouring the champagne. To knowing when to leave, I countered. We drank to that. The divorce was finalized on November 15th, 2 months after New Orleans, exactly as promised. I went to the courthouse alone, signed the papers, received my copies, walked out into the Houston morning and felt lighter than I had in years. That night, my phone rang. Marcus. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to the message. Hey, I know you don't want to talk to me, and I get it, but I heard the divorce went through today, and I wanted you to know I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not just for Jasmine, but for everything. For taking you for granted, for prioritizing my career over us, for not seeing what I had until I lost it. You deserved better. You deserved everything. And I hope Charleston gives you that. I hope you find someone who sees you the way I should have. I hope, his voice cracked. I hope you're happy, Simone. That's all. I hope you're happy. I deleted the voicemail. Not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. I couldn't carry his guilt. Couldn't absolve him. Couldn't give him the closure he was asking for. That wasn't my job anymore. December brought transition. I trained my replacement at Houston Heights, a sharp young man from Austin with hospitality in his blood. I packed my apartment, said goodbye to colleagues, to friends, to the city that had been home for 5 years, drove to Mobile for Christmas with my family, let my mama feed me and fuss over me and tell me I was better off without Marcus anyway. I knew something was wrong, she said, handing me a plate of her famous banana pudding. The way he looked at you. Like you were a prize he'd won, not a person he loved. Why didn't you say something? Would you have listened? Probably not. I'd been too invested in the image of my perfect marriage, my successful life, my upward trajectory. Too afraid to admit I'd made a mistake, married the wrong person, built a future on shaky ground. But I was listening now. I spent Christmas week in Mobile, walking the beaches I'd grown up on, eating at the restaurants my mama used to take me to, remembering the girl I'd been before ambition and marriage and all the trappings of adult life. That girl had been brave, fearless. She'd known what she wanted and gone after it without apology. I needed to find her again. January arrived cold and bright. I drove from Mobile to Charleston on a Tuesday, my car packed with everything I owned, a new chapter waiting at the end of I-26. The city appeared through morning fog like something from a postcard. Church steeples and palmetto trees, pastel houses with wraparound porches, the water glinting in the distance. The new property was in the historic district, a building that had been a bank in the 1800s, then a speakeasy, then abandoned for decades before our company bought it. The renovation was halfway done. Exposed brick, original hardwood, modern amenities hiding behind historic facades. It was going to be beautiful. It was going to be mine. Gerald Thomas met me on the first day. Welcome to Charleston. Ready to build something extraordinary? Ready? We spent the day walking the property, discussing design choices, reviewing budgets. He introduced me to the construction team, the architects, the consultants. Everyone listened when I spoke, took notes, respected my vision. No one mentioned Marcus. No one treated me like damaged goods. I was just the GM, the boss, the woman in charge. It felt like coming home. That first month was chaos. Hiring staff, finalizing designs, navigating city permits, dealing with contractors who thought they could cut corners. I worked 16-hour days, slept in a rental apartment with air mattress furniture, lived on coffee and takeout. It was exhausting and exhilarating and exactly what I needed. In February, the property started taking shape. Guest rooms finished, common areas painted, the rooftop bar almost ready. We set a soft opening for May, a grand opening for June. I hired a team, front desk, housekeeping, concierge, food and beverage. Trained them myself, taught them the standards I'd learned over a decade in hospitality, made it clear that excellence wasn't optional. One of my new hires was a young woman named Taylor, fresh out of hospitality school, eager and terrified in equal measure. She reminded me of myself at 22, before Marcus, before heartbreak, when everything still seemed possible. Ms. Porter, she said during training, can I ask you something personal? Depends on how personal. I saw the video from the conference, the one that went viral. My stomach tightened. Okay. How did you come back from that? How did you walk into work the next day and keep going? I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw genuine curiosity, not gossip-seeking. Saw a young woman trying to figure out how to be strong in an industry that chewed people up. I came back because I had to, I said. Because hiding would have meant letting his choices define me. And I wasn't willing to give him that power. So I showed up, I did my job, I built something new. And eventually, the pain faded, and all that was left was the lesson. What lesson? That you can survive anything if you refuse to let it break you. That failure is just data. That sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing, because it forces you to rebuild from scratch and this time you get to choose what stays and what goes. She nodded slowly. Thank you. For what? For being honest. For not pretending it was easy. It wasn't easy. I smiled. But it was worth it. The soft opening in May was a success. Local press, influencers, VIPs from Charleston's hospitality scene. Everyone raved about the design, the service, the attention to detail. Gerald flew in for it, toasted me in front of the assembled crowd, said, "This is what happens when you give a brilliant woman the resources and freedom to build her vision." The grand opening in June was even bigger. National press, travel bloggers, executives from our parent company. The property was booked solid for 3 months. I stood in the lobby on opening night, watching guests check in, watching my team execute flawlessly, watching the dream I'd built become real. I thought about New Orleans, about standing in the Maison Royale lobby 18 months ago, humiliated and angry and convinced my life was over. About the choice I'd made to keep going, to take the Charleston job, to rebuild. I thought about Marcus, wondered where he was, if he thought about me, if he regretted what he'd lost. Then I stopped wondering, because it didn't matter. His chapter in my story was closed. This was mine now. In July, I met someone. Not romantic, not yet, but promising. His name was David. He owned a restaurant on King Street. We met at a Chamber of Commerce event. He was funny, charming, direct in a way that felt refreshing after Marcus's games. He asked me to dinner. I said yes. We ate oysters and drank white wine and talked about the industry, the city, the challenge of building something from nothing. He didn't mention the video, didn't ask about my ex-husband, treated me like I was just Simone, not a cautionary tale, not damaged goods. At the end of the night, walking me to my car, he said, "Can I see you again? Maybe, if you can handle the fact that I'm not looking for anything serious." Who said I was? He grinned. "I just want to have dinner with a smart, beautiful woman who knows her way around a P&L statement. Everything else we can figure out as we go." I liked that answer. Liked that he wasn't making promises, wasn't pushing for more than I could give. Liked that he saw me, really saw me, and still wanted to stick around. We went to dinner again, and again, started texting between shifts, stealing hours when we could, building something slow and careful and free of pressure. He met my staff, I met his kitchen crew. We talked about expanding, about franchising, about dreams that had nothing to do with being coupled and everything to do with building empires. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was possibility. And after everything I'd been through, possibility felt like enough. By August, the Charleston property was thriving. Highest occupancy rate in the company, glowing reviews, award nominations. Corporate called to congratulate me, to ask if I'd be interested in overseeing a second Charleston property when they acquired one. I said yes. I was building an empire, not with a partner, not for a marriage, not to prove anything to anyone, just for me. Because I wanted to, because I could. One Saturday in September, almost 2 years after New Orleans, I was doing paperwork in my office when my phone buzzed. An Instagram DM from someone I didn't follow. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the name. Jasmine. "Hi, Ms. Porter. I know this is random and you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know that I got a new job. I'm the assistant GM at a property in Savannah. I'm doing well. I'm happy. And I learned from what happened with you and Marcus. I learned what integrity looks like, what strength looks like. I learned from watching you rebuild. Thank you for that. I hope you're doing well too." I stared at the message for a long time. Thought about responding with anger, with coldness, with the cruelty she probably expected. But I didn't feel any of that. I just felt tired of carrying it. I wrote back, "Congratulations on the new job. I'm glad you're happy. Good luck in Savannah." Short, professional, free of the rage that had consumed me 2 years ago. Because I'd let it go. Let him go. Let the whole painful chapter close so I could focus on writing the next one. If you've stayed with me through all of this, if you've heard this story and recognized yourself in any part of it, the betrayal, the public humiliation, the choice to keep going even when you wanted to quit, I want you to know something. You're stronger than you think. You're more capable than anyone gives you credit for. And the life you build after everything falls apart can be better than anything you imagined before. So if this resonated with you, if it helped you see your own strength, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we're all in this together, learning to be unbreakable. It's been 2 years now since Marcus canceled my hotel reservation. 2 years since I walked into the Maison Royale and discovered that my marriage was a lie. 2 years since I made the choice to keep going, to take the Charleston job, to rebuild my life from scratch. I'm 34 now. I manage 2 properties in Charleston with a third in development. I have a team that respects me, guests who return specifically to stay at my hotels, industry recognition that's mine alone. I have friends here, a community, a life that's full and rich and completely my own. David and I are still together, still slow, still careful, still building something that feels sustainable. We talk about the future sometimes, maybe moving in together, maybe opening a restaurant-hotel hybrid, maybe just continuing as we are. There's no pressure, no timeline, no expectation that we have to fit a prescribed pattern. I talk to my mama every Sunday. She's proud of me, not for surviving, but for thriving, for turning betrayal into opportunity, for refusing to let one man's failure of imagination limit my success. I saw Marcus's LinkedIn profile last month. He's still with Encore, still in that lateral position, still posting about industry trends like nothing happened. His profile picture is professional, solitary. No mention of Jasmine or anyone else. I don't know if they're still together. I don't care. His life isn't my business anymore. Sometimes people still recognize me, still mention the video, still ask how I moved on. I tell them the truth, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one moment of refusing to let heartbreak win. The hotel industry taught me a lot: how to manage chaos, how to solve impossible problems, how to make guests feel welcomed and valued. But my failed marriage taught me more. It taught me that you can survive anything if you're willing to keep walking, that public humiliation can't kill you unless you let it, that the worst moment of your life can become the catalyst for the best chapter. I don't regret marrying Marcus. I regret staying as long as I did, ignoring the signs, making excuses. But the marriage itself? That was just data. Information about what I needed, what I valued, what I was willing to tolerate. And when I finally had enough data to make an informed decision, I made it. I walked away, rebuilt, thrived. And if I can do it, so can you. Last week, a young woman approached me at an industry event in Atlanta. She looked nervous, determined, like she'd been building up courage all night. "Ms. Porter, I'm sorry to bother you, but I have to tell you something. 2 years ago, I saw the video of you confronting your husband, and at the time, I was in a relationship that was making me miserable. I was engaged to someone who treated me like an option, not a priority. And watching you stand up for yourself, watching you walk away even though it was public and messy and hard, that gave me the courage to leave. I called off my wedding, started over, and now I'm engaged to someone who actually sees me, who chooses me every day. I just wanted to say thank you for being brave enough to show the rest of us how it's done." I hugged her, told her I was proud of her, told her that her happiness was her own doing, not mine, but that I was honored to have played even a small part in her journey. After she walked away, I stood in that ballroom, so similar to the one in New Orleans where my marriage ended, and felt the full weight of how far I'd come, from humiliation to healing, from broken to rebuilt, from Marcus's wife to Simone Porter, hotel executive, entrepreneur, woman who knows her worth. I thought about that night at the Maison Royale, the concierge's pale face, Gerald Thomas's kind eyes, the suite that felt like both sanctuary and prison, the choice I made to stay, to fight, to build something better. That choice changed everything. And 2 years later, standing in Atlanta with a successful career and a full life and the kind of peace that only comes from surviving the worst and coming out stronger, I knew, really knew, that I'd made the right call. The canceled hotel reservation wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. The push I needed to stop accepting scraps and start demanding everything I deserved. And now I have it. Not perfectly, not without scars, but mine. All mine. And that's worth more than any marriage that required me to shrink, to settle, to accept being the smart choice instead of the only choice. I'm Simone Porter. I run 2 hotels in Charleston. I survived public humiliation and came out stronger. I chose myself when no one else would. And I'm just getting started. The best chapter? It's still being written. And this time, I'm the only author it needs.